Welcome to the Leaderonomics show, and I'm with Marshall Goldsmith, whom the Harvard Business Review describes as the #1 leadership thinker and the #7th business thinker in the world. Marshall, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Glad to have you here. It's interesting. You had a very interesting background. You started with studying math, I think.
Yes.
And then you've evolved into an executive coach, an author, and a number of other things. How did that happen? I mean, how did you become who you became?
Well, I was a college professor when I was very young, and as a young professor, I was very fortunate. And I met a very famous man, Dr. Paul Hersey, who was one of the top people in our world. And I followed him around, and he was kind enough to let me help him and carry the bags. And I got to practice teaching what he did. And one day he got double booked.
Okay.
And he said, "Can you do what I do?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "I'm double booked and need help. Can you help me?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "I'll pay you $1,000 for one day." That was about 35 years ago. I was making $15,000 for 1 year.
Right.
I said, $1,000 a day, a lot of money to a kid 35 years ago. I said,
Right.
I'll try. I did this program. The client was very angry when I showed up because they expected him. But I got ranked first place of all the speakers. After that, the client called up and said, "Do you want to send Marshall back?" He said, "Do you want to do this again?"
Right.
I said, "Yes." And that's how I got into this business.
Okay.
A lot of life is luck. And no matter how good you are,
You need that.
you need somebody to help you.
And it's interesting. I mean, you've also pioneered like the 360 and certain concepts like executive coaching and so on. So how did those things come about?
Well, the 360 feedback was, again, a lot of life is accident. We did a big...
You seem to be having many accidents.
many lucky accidents. We did a big program for a company when I was in leadership development, and then we were supposed to design another one, and we couldn't figure out what to do, and we thought, well, maybe this idea of feedback would be good. Have them get feedback, give us something to do. Couldn't think of anything else to do.
Right.
Came up with this idea, and we did 360 feedback, and I'm really a pioneer in the area of customized 360-degree feedback. And then in terms of coaching, we started measuring how did people change. We did these before and after studies, who got better and who didn't get better. And then on coaching, a CEO of a big company talked to me and he said, "I got this young guy working for us. Young, smart, dedicated, hardworking, driven to achieve, creative, stubborn, opinionated, know-it-all jerk." Yep. He said, "It would be worth a fortune to me if we could turn that guy around." I heard that word fortune again. I said, "I like fortunes. Maybe I could help him." He said, "I doubt it." I said, "Maybe I could." He said, "I don't think so." That's when I came up with my idea. I said, "I'll work with a guy for a year. If he gets better, pay me. If he does not get better, all free." CEO said, "Sold." That's how I got into executive coaching. All of my work is done on a pay-only for results basis.
You talk a lot about accidents happening in your life, and it seems like many leaders that I interview, many accidents seem to happen, but they seem to have a positivity about them. Do you think the more positive you are, the more accidents, the positive accidents happen?
Yeah, because you're in the position where if good things do happen, you take advantage of them. See, a lot of opportunities are given to people, and some people take advantage and win, and some don't.
You coach a lot of CEOs.
Yes.
What's the biggest challenge that these leaders have, and what are some things you help
Well,
them
they're
to
all
overcome?
different. One of the more common challenges is ego, winning too much, having to be right all the time. It's very hard because you're brought up when you're young, you got to win, 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 win. Then one day you're a big boss and you got to help other people win.
Right.
It's not all about you anymore.
Right.
One of my greatest coaching clients is a man named Alan Mulally, who was the CEO of the Year in the United States last year, CEO of Ford. And this guy is a spectacularly great leader, and he said basically, achiever, it's about me, leader, it's about them. And a characteristic of a great leader is it's all about them, it's not about you. Yeah.
And tell us a bit about the story. How did he transform? What was he? You helped this person transform from what state was he in?
Well, he was at Boeing at the time. He was running Boeing commercial aircraft. He's a spectacularly great leader to start with. He just wanted to do more of reaching out across Boeing and helping other units. And he put together this system which was just spectacular. And not only did he get better, probably 200 people get better. And I told him, I said, "It's embarrassing for me to send you a bill. I'm sure you learned 10 times as much from me as I learned from you."
Right.
I mean, I learned 10 times as much from you as you learned
him.
from me. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. One of the things I've heard you mention somewhere in some video is that this whole thing about leaders tend to want to always add value.
Yes, yes.
But they shouldn't.
Right.
Why is that?
Well, I'm young, smart, enthusiastic. I come to you with an idea. You're my boss. You think it's a great idea, but instead of saying great idea, you say, "That's a nice idea. Why don't you add this to it?" Right. The problem is the quality of the idea may go up 5%. My commitment to execute may go down 50%. Effectiveness of execution is a function of A, what's the quality of the idea, times B, what's my commitment to make it work. We get so wrapped up trying to improve the quality a little bit, we may damage the commitment a lot. Before you speak, stop and breathe and ask yourself, is it worth it?
You know, what's your toughest coaching or the toughest person you've coached?
Did you see the movie Wall Street?
Yeah.
I was the coach for the real-life role model for Gordon Gekko in the movie
okay.
Wall Street. Now, he was not immoral or unethical like the man in the movie. He was a
Okay.
jerk. His score on treating people with respect from both direct reports and coworkers, 0.1 percentile.
Okay, 0.1%.
0.1. I talked to him. I said, I have a degree in math, 0.1, not very high. I said, how do you do at home? He said, I'm totally different. I said, great. Is your wife home? He said, yeah. Kids, 2 teenagers. Called his wife. What'd she say? You're a jerk. Let's check in with the kids. Jerk. Jerk. And I said, a pattern's beginning to emerge. And I said, I can't help you make money. You make more than God. But I got a question. Do you want to have a funeral that nobody attends other than for business reasons? Because that's where this is headed. He looked at me and he said, I'm going to change. Not because of you or money, because I have a 13-year-old son. And he said, 30 years from today, if a man like you read that report about my son, I'd be ashamed he was my son. And then he said, my son already acts that way. Wonder where he picked that up. In 1 year, he got ranked a 53.7 percentile on treating people with respect. Anybody can get better.
But is it important that the person who wants, there's a need for the person to want to change?
Oh, definitely.
Can you coach people who don't want to change?
I don't. I'm not saying other people can't. Other people can do whatever they want to.
Yep. Yep.
Life is short.
Sure.
I don't have to do what I don't want to do anyway. From my experience, if people don't care, they're not going to get better anyway. I tell people, if you're going to get better at anything, it's got to come from inside you, not inside me.
Right.
I also tell everyone I coach, I don't get paid if you don't get better. I do not get paid because I'm a good coach. I get paid because you're a good client. Don't make it about me.
That's a good model.
Yeah, don't make it about me. It's not about how good I am. If I'm the worst coach in the world and you get better, who cares? If I'm the best coach in the world and you don't get better, who cares? The whole thing is not about me. It's all about you.
Yeah. So is this coaching that you do, is that transferable to everybody?
Oh, very
Can we all
transferable.
become coaches?
Oh, definitely. GE has used my coaching process with their HR people with thousands of people. Their results are great. Dell Computer had some people here today. They have a lot of people that they use as coaches who have been trained in my process.
These are internal coaches, right?
Oh, well, external, but they've been, I don't do it, but they've been trained in my process. They're fantastic. So, yeah, it's a transferable process.
So all of us have the ability to be good coaches then?
Yeah. And you can practice this stuff by yourself. You don't even have to have a coach.
You know, what advice would you give a young person who's just graduating off university and, you know, they've got the whole world to, you know, in their palm of their hands, so to say. What pieces of advice would you give them to focus on?
First thing I would like to say is global competition is tough. Tough. My daughter had a PhD from Yale. There were 22 students in her department. She was the only one born in the United States. They weren't there to get drunk and go to parties.
Right.
Global competition is tough. I would tell young people today, you're probably going to have to work very, very hard. 2 things. Find what you love doing and find what's meaningful for you. If you enjoy what you're doing and you think it's meaningful, you don't mind working hard.
Right.
If you don't like what you're doing and you don't think it's meaningful, you're going to have to work hard anyway. You're going to be living in new age professional hell.
Yep.
Too many young people live there.
Yep. You know, speaking of your daughter, she's a pretty, she's interesting because she was on Survivor, I guess,
Yes,
in
she
Africa.
was. Survivor, yes.
And then she was doing some casting on on some reality show and so on. And then she ultimately ended up doing a PhD. Do you learn things from your kids? From
Oh,
your
my
wife,
daughter. My daughter's now a professor at the Kellogg School of Northwestern, professor of marketing. And she's taught me this technique that we're writing a new book of, and it's called the active question process. It is amazing how well this process works.
What's the active process?
Well, everything in employee engagement is focused on what can the company do to engage you, not what you can do to engage yourself. My daughter taught me this whole idea to get people to focus on engaging themselves, and we ask active questions. A passive question, how engaged are you? An active question, did you do your best to increase your own engagement? Passive question is, was your day meaningful? An active question, did you do your best to make your day meaningful? Well, we've done this research with 3 groups. We've done it in 8 companies. One group is a control group, which doesn't train much. It doesn't change much. One group, we do training for a couple hours, and then we follow up every day with passive questions, and they get better. The second group, we do the same training, same time. We follow up every day with active questions. Did you do your best to be happy, find meaning, engage? They improve twice as much. Every company, they improve twice as much. All we do is change the questions. Why? They focus on what they can do, not what the world has to do for them.
What's your best coaching advice that you can give us?
Take a deep breath. Imagine you're 95 years old and you're on your deathbed.
Okay.
You're about to take your last breath. But right before you take that breath, you're given a wonderful gift. The ability to go back in time and talk to the person that's listening to me right now. What advice would the wise 95-year-old you, who knows what really mattered in life and what didn't matter, and what's important and what's not important, and what counts and what doesn't count, what advice would that wise old person have for the you that's listening to me now?
And take that advice.
Answer two questions. One is professional advice.
Okay.
The other is personal advice. A friend of mine asked old people who are dying this question.
Mm-hmm.
On the personal side, 3 themes. Theme number 1, be happy now. Not next week, not next month, not next year. Number 2, friends and family. You might love your company. When you're 95 years old, you look around your deathbed, there's no employees waving goodbye. You realize friends and family matter. And number 3, if you have a dream, go for it. Business advice isn't much different. Have fun. Do whatever you can to help people.
Mm-hmm.
Follow your dreams.